Hello everyone and welcome back. Welcome for the first time. Today we're going to talk about some things that I really miss about the United States. I have been living in Europe for basically the last decade. I spent the last 10 years in Czech Republic, and then I've just recently moved to Italy. So basically my whole adult life has been spent in Europe. I never really thought that I would ever want to move back to the US. To be quite honest, telling people that I was American was something I was embarrassed of until about the year 2020. And in that year, I finally became proud to be American because I saw the American people really pushing back against different things and being more supportive of their beliefs and their freedoms. And it kind of just sparked a bit of patriotism that I had never really seen before in the American people. And so that little spark of patriotism kind of also sparked some patriotism in me. And so since I have been feeling a little bit homesick and a little bit nostalgic, I thought I would go through and share some things that I really, really miss about my home country. The first thing I miss about the US is the convenience. I miss the big one-stop shops like Walmart. I know that there are some definitely pros and cons to things like that. If you're from the Midwest, you know Meijer. Oh my gosh, I miss Meijer so much. Because I miss the available options in shops like that and shops in US in general. I am currently doing something where I have to eat grain-free and dairy-free. And in the US, they have so many different options for grain-free pasta or dairy-free cheese. And those are things that are kind of difficult to find here in Europe. Maybe they have them and I simply haven't found them, but the convenience of accessing different types of goods in the US is just incredible. I also really miss the availability of like health food stores. I know where I'm from, there's one called Fresh Time, I think Trader Joe's and like Whole Foods, those sorts of things I would also consider health food stores. And they have just different options for, you know, herbs and natural remedies and different things like that. I also miss being able to find really good tea, like herbal teas to support different kinds of natural processes within the body. I also know that in the US you have access to this like online shop where you can get all sorts of the good herbs, mountain rose herbs. So if anybody knows in Europe where I can find something like that, it would be amazing. I found a similar one, like a baby version, I guess, of it in the Czech Republic. And Ecokoza does a pretty good job, but they don't compare at all to mountain rose herbs. Another thing I really miss about the US is traveling long distances by car. I know, of course, I could also do that here in Europe, but it's much more common for people to take a plane. It's more common to take a plane from city to city because then you're not really going to need the car once you get to your destination. But I really love driving. I love looking out the window. I love the whole experience of it. Whereas with flying, I really hate the whole experience of it. I don't like the waiting. I don't like the fake security. I don't like the delays. I don't like breathing that same air for so long. And, you know, if life is really all about the journey more than the destination, then I think that promotes a little bit more of the driving over flying mentality. When you're driving and you see something or a sign alongside of the road, you can kind of take a detour, you can take a break and just kind of, I don't know, get out and stretch your legs. For me personally, traveling like long distance is much better done in a car. In slight relation to that, I really miss the wide open spaces. I grew up in the fields of Ohio, so I know all about wide open spaces. There were just, you could see forever. You could see the sunrise and the sunset nothing except a couple trees were in your way. It was all just big open farm fields and open space. And I understand that, yeah, we also have those things here in Europe. I got to experience quite a bit of that when I was living in the Czech Republic, in Ostrava, and I would visit my friends in the mountains. They had lots of open space there. Where I am now, I kind of have some open space, but northern Italy is extremely populated, so you don't really have that kind of space. Of course, you can travel to those places, you know, where you're closer to nature, where there's less people living, but then you're likely to also run into other tourists and travelers who are looking for that same sort of thing. The US is much bigger and kind of offers more of those options than I guess you would find here in Europe. Along those same lines is silence. I miss silence so much. I miss the peace and quiet of nothing but the birds. I understand, yeah, again, of course, there are places here in Europe where you can go and you can find those things. I'm totally aware of that, but it's usually more common when you are a foreigner to move to the cities than to move to the countryside. So yes, of course, I know I can find those things here in Italy. I can find those things also in Czech Republic and many other places in Europe, but it's more common for foreigners to move to the cities because of jobs and the language barrier and things like that. So that's something I really miss about my home country, is that I had the ability to live in those like wide open spaces where it's quiet, and then also be able to find work. Some of the next ones are a little bit funny, but again, these are just my opinion. I really miss the diversity of people in the US. I know, I live in Europe, right? And every country has a different language, a different culture, different food, different beliefs, different traditions. So what could I possibly mean I miss the diversity of the US? Well, the people in the US have lots of different opinions on a variety of different topics. And a lot of the people there are more open in sharing those opinions. And so in the US, I have all different types of friends who think similar to me, and then I also have friends who think very differently than I do. Where in Europe, it tends to be that most people all think very similarly. At least in my experience. Everyone just kind of seems to have the same opinions, and many times those are simply the opinions that come from the television. So they all just follow kind of the same story. In my personal experience and interactions with people, they either simply are just not opening up about the things that they really think, or they all just think the same thing. So I really miss that diversity of people's thoughts and opinions in the US. Another really funny thing is I miss the US healthcare system. Yes, I also know it's expensive. And in Europe, we have free healthcare. So what could I possibly be talking about? All right, in Europe you do have free healthcare, but you have to wait. And sometimes you have to wait a long time. I had a friend in the Czech Republic who needed a knee operation, and she had to wait 6 months before they could do it. Like, a lot can happen in 6 months. I mean, she can, it can get a lot worse in 6 months instead of, you know, I understand to wait a week or something, but wow. And so the healthcare system, yes, it may be free, but there are some drawbacks, you know. Like my own personal experience with things and having to wait a long time in hospitals in the Czech Republic, and then again here in Italy, and it just kind of seems to take forever to get anything done. It's very frustrating. So although it may be free, it takes up a lot of your time, and if time is money, then you're paying with your time, and money is a renewable resource, even if it is sometimes difficult to renew, but time is not. So in a way, I really miss the US healthcare system and their efficiency. This one might also be a little bit funny, especially considering that Planet Fitness is kind of under attack right now because of some policies and decisions that they made that kind of stuck their foot in their mouth with this one. But I miss affordable gyms, and I really wanted to use Planet Fitness as an example because they have the $10 gym membership and the $20 gym membership. And in my personal experience, the gyms are quite nice. At least they were 10 years ago. They were pretty clean. They were pretty, you know, like a nice space to go work out, at least in my area. But here in Europe, affordable gyms is not really a thing. I know in Czech Republic you were paying like $40 or something for a gym membership, and then if you wanted to use the showers, you had to pay like 20 euros more. It's just crazy. And the gyms weren't even really that nice, to be completely honest. So I really missed the affordable gyms. It kind of made getting exercise and being healthy a little bit more possible and more sustainable. There is the option though, if you happen to be lucky enough in Czech Republic to have the multi-sport card, then many places you can get access to, you know, sports facilities and saunas and gyms, things like that for free. But otherwise, the gyms are quite expensive in Europe. I think this is the last funny one, maybe. But it's return policies. I miss the return policies in the US so much. You have no idea how many times I've bought something, taken it home, tried it on, it's not really what I want, and then I need to return it, and I can't. I am so frustrated. I almost had I would get such anxiety buying anything in Czech Republic because I was like, well, what if something happens? I can't return it. And I know you might think, well, don't buy something if you're not gonna like it. Yeah, but you know, when you go to the store and you try something on, maybe things don't look the way that they should in the fitting room, or maybe they do look a certain way, but when you take it home and you try it on in different light, it's not right. Then what? Well, they usually say you can only exchange it, and that's super frustrating. I'm sorry, but if I'm unsatisfied with your product, I want to return it. I don't want to trade it for another product that's probably also going to be unsatisfying. Just kidding. This one's also funny. I miss libraries. Yes, we have libraries in Europe. Yes, in all towns and cities there are libraries. But I didn't read books in Czech, and I don't read books in Italian. And I really miss being able to go to the library and check out a book and then take it back when I'm done with it. Kind of like returns. And so yeah, of course, I could have learned to read in Czech and I could learn to read in Italian, and I am absolutely sure that my tiny little hometown library doesn't have any books in foreign languages. So who am I to criticize? But I really, really, really miss access to libraries and English libraries. Again, there are so many different things. Yes, of course, I can go to Milan and I can buy books in English. I could in Prague as well as in Ostrava. There's also, you know, Kindles and things like you can read on an iPad. So there are other options, but I miss libraries. The final thing that I miss about the US, and probably the most important thing, is my family. My family is, I would say, pretty close, despite the fact that, you know, we all lived everywhere for a while. My mom is my best friend. I love her to pieces. My dad is incredible. I couldn't ask for a better dad. My sister, I wish we were a bit closer. Maybe as time goes on that will happen, but I wish we were a bit closer. But many of my family has all lived throughout different parts of the US for many years, and actually just recently all of them have started to move back. So now a lot of them are all in the same place, and I see they're all doing different things together, and all of that makes me feel a little bit homesick. I miss them so much. I'm really looking forward to going to see them this summer. So That's the thing I miss the most. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I know that some of these things are a little bit funny, a little bit ironic, and a little bit strange, but I've been thinking and feeling, like I said, a little bit homesick, a little bit nostalgic, and I thought it would be nice to reminisce for a minute and think about all the things that I maybe took for granted while I was living in the US. So I feel like I also could do this for Czech Republic, things I miss about Czech Republic after having moved to Italy, and maybe we will do it, maybe we won't. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you're awesome, and until next time, bye.